I, in the space of about 5 minutes, almost quadrupled what I was making.
Welcome to the Passion Behind the Art Show. It's all about diving in with individuals to learn the awesome story behind their passion. It's your host, Daryl Pinnock. Enjoy this week's episode.
Well, I'm excited to have Scott Fuller on the Passion Behind the Art Show.
Hey.
It's kind of cool to have another creative right here in Georgia with me. Little by little, I'm learning of more and more creatives in Georgia, and Scott is one of them. Welcome, Scott.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me on. And it was good. It was good to see you last week, and we had some food and some fun.
Some laughs.
I saw at least 7 spit takes that should have happened, and I believe 5 of them were yours. So anytime we get a few of these folks in a room together, it is just going to be crazy. So, but that was great. It
was fun, man. It was fun. So let's kick it off. How did Scott's journey start? What age? When do you remember it officially start for you?
I don't know. I mean, all the designers, it seems, a lot of folks, it seems to have a similar story sometimes. We have somebody had crayons, or somebody had markers, or really, crappy Crayola watercolors, and somebody left them out, and you discovered them, and you started drawing, and for some folks, they were amazing from birth. Some folks had to work really, really hard at it. And I'm not saying that other folks didn't have to work hard on it. They had to work on it just as we did. But it seemed like some others had more of a natural affinity for it. I don't think I was one. I mean, it was something that I just enjoyed. And it still kind of carries over to today. But I remember 5 years old painting with said crappy watercolors under my kitchen table. Trains, cars were my biggest kind of subject. Growing up, I drew a lot of mechanical stuff. I never drew people. I do some landscapes from time to time, but most of it was very mechanical, automotive, that type of deal. My dad used to race Supercross back in the day, back
nice.
in the 70s and 80s. And I guess I kind of got that bug from him. I'm a big racing fan myself. Short tracks, dirt tracks, big tracks. My dad and I used to go to the Georgia Dome every February and watch the motocross race.
Really?
Which was every February, man. That was so much fun. And what you do is you'd park over at the MARTA station. This is back when MARTA was still safe to ride at night at some point. So this was like early 90s. So basically, we'd park at the station. We'd ride the subway into the Georgia Dome, and we'd sit upper deck because you wanted to be able to see the whole track, and then we'd sit about 50-yard line. So we had a fantastic view, and the tickets were like $10 or something. And I feel a little weird because it's all coming to an end. The Georgia Dome is being like imploded.
Right.
Next month. I'm going to watch it, I mean, I'm right up the road. I might as well. But I'm getting off track. I tend to do that. I had an uncle who was an illustrator who was incredible. He had incredible talent. He and his son's my cousin. And I don't know. I just always did it. It's just something I always did. I draw, once again, cars and stuff for my buddies, or I'm a big NASCAR fan. I started following it back in like 96, 97, and I used to design the paint schemes on the cars. Funny thing, the guy who did most of the paint schemes and was like the illustrator of NASCAR, we all know, Saul Bass, designer, logo designer, identity, and everything. The guy that I followed was Sam Bass. He had a studio and a gallery and whatnot out of North Carolina, out of Charlotte, and it was nuts. And I was a big fan, and I do a lot of that type of stuff for my buddies. So, senior year of high school comes along. I'm rolling on towards what I thought would be a degree in mechanical engineering.
Wow.
I did. My dad was a machinist, still is, has been for 40 years. I worked in a shop growing up from the time I was about 8, 9 years old. And I thought I was going to be a mechanical engineer. I did trigonometry, physics, calculus, all that stuff, all in high school. And I had been accepted into the college to be a mechanical engineer. Well, my senior year, I took a design class. It was just an art class. It wasn't even design. At this point, I still don't even know what design is, what graphic design is. So I take that and I realized there's something there. So I took a chance, and when I gave my address at graduation, I let everybody know I was going into art, and the air got sucked out of the room so fast, man. But I gave it a shot. I was going to be the first Fuller to graduate from college, which I did, which is pretty cool. And I was going to be I'm a first generation designer, which is kind of cool. So that's kind of how I got from under the kitchen table into college doing this kind of stuff.
So you're kind of like a pioneer for your family, huh?
A little bit. I mean, I got firefighters in my family. There's a big military aspect to my family. All my grandparents were in the service. My mom's dad flew a refueler. He was a pilot. He had a He had he had a personal plane too, but it was one of those old. It was a 2-seater biplane, but it was open cockpit.
Wow!
Right. So he used to take my mom and some of her friends or whatnot. He would take them up, her brothers or whatnot. He would take them up in the air. Remember, we're in an open air cockpit,
right?
And he would fly upside down. So,
what?
Yeah. So I'm like, this is my kind of guy. I never got to meet him. He passed away when my mom was 12, 13. Mm-hmm. But, from then on, my other grandparents that I knew, they were in the military and did something like that. I remember going to the commissary, shopping with my grandparents when I would go up there. I saw that and it kind of had that history. So, like I said, we got metal workers, we got machinists, we've got all kind of stuff in there. We're very hands-on people, which I really, really like.
Right.
And I try to bring that approach in design. Now I know we do this stuff on computers and whatnot, so this handcrafted logo it's BS is what it is. Unless somebody's out there drawing it and carving it out or something, that's handcrafted.
Going on every surface, every material, and carving the logo.
See, now I'm very analog. I start on paper, but I know where I need to finish it, right? So this handcrafted stuff is a little, it's starting to see its time, but it's like the crossed hatchets of this year or 2 year spread or whatever. Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh yeah. So for me to jump into something like this, it was a big unknown. I think my parents wanted to support me. They wanted to do that, and they did. They very much did. But not until I got the job doing it did they really see, okay, that's what this is, or that's what this means, and this is good for him, this is not good for him. What I would see as a big opportunity, maybe they didn't see right off the bat, but now it's, oh yeah, I see what he's doing, so yeah, it was a little weird, but I mean, my sisters are teachers, both of them.
Wow.
And I'm not. I'm the oldest of 4 kids, and I get to be the problem child, and I kind of embrace it. I get the beard and run the little design studio and everything, and I enjoy that.
Nice.
I enjoy that. I kind of enjoy being the one that didn't quite just kind of do the normal thing. Now, that's not to say that at times you didn't wonder, should I have,
right.
Like
do the mechanical engineer stuff or something like that.
Exactly. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, there's a creative aspect to that. I know that, and I would have enjoyed it, I'm sure. But I love what I get to do, and I get to do a lot of different things, which for me is huge. So you gotta cut me off at some point.
Yeah.
Keep on talking.
Man, it's all about the stories, man. It's all about the stories. So How would you say this whole mechanical engineering, this car loving background influenced your design ability?
I mean, take it for me. Being around all that type of stuff, being around my dad's shop and everything, I saw a lot of old graphics. I saw a lot of, logos that had been around longer than I'd been alive. Longer than probably my dad had been alive at that point. So I saw a lot of that stuff, the old hazard signs, like you'll get your hand, you'll lose all your fingers if you put it, 2 inches further, buddy, and and you'll be picking your nose with your elbow. I saw signs like that, and whatnot, and it just kind of stuck in the back of my mind. But and then of course being around racing and everything,
Right.
Always they were always thinking about this stuff, because all the graphics, everything on those cars, I mean, they're going 200 miles an hour, so you got to be able to recognize that, recognize color, recognize patterns, recognize shapes and sizes and whatnot. So, I'm learning all this stuff without realizing that I'm learning it.
Wow.
And then I learned a lot from design just from my dad. My dad is not a designer. He has no interest in any of that type of stuff. One of the smartest, most common sense people that I know ever. He did not go to college. He only has a high school education. But I would go to him with big decisions. I still do. I still do. And I trust his judgment because it's just plain common sense. And, he would tell me things about working in the machine shop or working with this piece of material or something like that. And inadvertently, 7, 8, 9 years down the road, a decade down the road, I realized there's an application for this outside of machinery. And all right, so here's one. We're working on a lathe, and we got a piece of metal on there, and it's turning really, really fast, so we can cut it and shape it and polish it and whatnot. And Dad would always tell me when I'm going there and I'm dialing everything in, he would say, remember, he said, you can always take more off, but you can never put it back on. Okay?
Makes sense.
So you think of poster design, you think of identity design, you think of icons, you think of any of this type of stuff that we do, where that applies. And when I start on a logo design, like I'm working on, I think 4 of them right now, not at the same time, that'd be a little crazy, but I'm working on, I have 4 logo projects going on right now. And when I start those things, I throw the kitchen sink at it. I mean, it is anything goes at the beginning. And then I pare it down, And I know that I'm not going to add anything else to it because I've already tried everything. It's like I tried that 5 pages ago, But is there something there that I can now take and pare down even more? So, for me, that type of works. But it's all these type of stuff that he would tell me like this. And this would really influence my thought process, directions, and just decisions that I would make just even on a day-to-day basis.
You can always take something off, but you can't add.
It's true.
I like that. I like that.
Was that they said that skewer me, I can't remember who said this thing, but basically minimalism is not, and I don't consider myself a minimalist, but basically he said the minimalism is not the least amount of objects, it's just the right amount.
Right.
So, and I completely agree with that.
Right. So, who would you say was your biggest influence, or who you grabbed support from? I guess we could safe to say your father is one. So, who would you say is in that inner circle of Scott to keep him? You know what I mean?
Kind of keep me in line.
Right.
My wife. My wife's got to be right there, right at the top. I mean, we have been through some craziness, and I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit more down, when we get to a few of the other questions. But man, we have been through some crazy, crazy stuff. She's been right there with me. It hasn't always been easy. I can vouch for that. I am about as stubborn as a mule, and I know it. And I've gotten better at it to an extent, but I am me. But she has been there to, not just to keep me in line, even though I do need that, but to support me. She's made a lot of sacrifices for me to get here. And, I'll never be able to repair for that, you know. But she can look at my face and say, oh, she knows what's coming, right? And if I'm about to say something I really shouldn't say that I can't take back, that'll burn a bridge or blow it up, she'll just kind of, hey, think about this before you send that, Here's a good rule of thumb. When you're composing an email, especially one that may or may not be strongly worded, make sure you keep all email addresses out of the little sending bar. Make sure you don't have anything in there until you're ready to send it. Because sometimes you accidentally hit send because it's muscle memory, and you really shouldn't have sent that thing. Remember that. But her for sure. And then I have other designers. I'm kind of in that circle. And when Mike Jones from Creative South in Columbus down in Georgia. If you've never heard of Columbus, Georgia, you got to go check it out, and especially check it out on the second week of April. It will be absolutely incredible. Mike Jones, that is the best conference I've ever been to in my life. But you have folks like Mike. I consider him along one of my closest friends. You got some guys up here. You got Tom Cox, Rob McClurkin, and all these guys. Other designers that I've known, designers that I look up to. And people that I can kind of call and talk to in a moment's notice if I need to, and I enjoy that. But there is that kind of inner circle, and I feel like those are kind of right there, with those guys. First, my wife, Mike, and then a few other folks that I know I can go to, and we can have it out.
Right.
Like we have, it's not come to like put up your fists. Come to that, but man, we can say what's on our mind without fear of he's not going to like me tomorrow.
Right,
No, sometimes we have stuff we have to get off our chest, and sometimes we have to say it, but we know how it's going to be taken. We know that if folks are going to jump on us or something like that, there's folks in that inner circle. It's going to be out of love.
Right.
So having that closeness, whether it's with 5 people or 25 people, depending on that circle, depending on how you like to operate, and it's good to have, it really is.
It really
is.
But
then you have to turn around. But at the same time, you want to be inside that circle too, because you want to be able to help them out.
Not just
you got to return. You can't just take.
Right.
At the same time, and you got to return that too. Always something good to remember.
Yeah. I like that, man. I like that. Yeah, Mike is a good guy. Love that dude.
Great guy. Massive guy.
Figuratively and literally.
And I sold I shared a plane ride, Delta, up to Ohio with him back in 2013. We got real close, man. Real close.
Nice.
It was using my lap as an armrest. That's all I'll say. But it was fantastic. But just a phenomenal guy. He's helped my career out a lot, on purpose and inadvertently as well. And I'll do whatever I can to help out as well.
Sounds good. So, what would you say was the hardest time? I mean, I'm pretty sure you probably have it all together. Everything is all good for you. Nothing.
Yeah.
You just walk through every morning. You wake up and it's just sunshines and rainbow.
Sunshine, rainbow. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, the last thing I want to see when I wake up is sunshine and rainbows. I like it to be nice and dim when I wake up because I don't want to wake. Because then I get grumpy, and it's like shining light in my eyes. So this whole sunshine and rainbows thing is not all it's cracked up to be. That being said, when my wife and I got married, we got married back in 2008. So this year will be 9 years we've been married. Crazy. 9 years. We have a 6-year-old, a little boy, Sean. He just turned 6 last month. That was great. But I remember the first year we were married, I got laid off after 3 months. This is 2008. This is not a good time. Or 2009. This is 2009. This is not a good time. And I had a little bit of experience, but not much. At that point, the agencies and the designers have went out being very, very careful. You got to have at least 4 years of experience. And I'm like, I've been out of college 4 months, So there was that. So I get laid off. I can't find work. I mean, I had nothing. I can't get a job at Target. I mean, I tried. That was the crazy part. I was actually, I was trying to do that. So, I ended up working at an Apple store, and not even a real Apple store. Peach Mac was the name of this, right? This is about 2010. So we'd gone through a year at least of just trying all these different things and just not working. So I finally got hired on there. I worked there for about 3 months, selling computers and iPads and iMacs and Apple mice and dealing with all the craziness that is cutthroat retail sales. And I happened to sell a computer to the right guy. He was there in Peachtree City, but he owned a trucking company out of Atlanta, out of Conley, Georgia. And he asked me, do you do freelance work? Yeah, I do freelance work. Don't ask me if I'm any good at it, because obviously I'm sitting here working in an Apple store. But yeah, I did freelance work. So he asked me to come up, and so I had a morning off 2 days later. So I went up there and I want to talk to him about doing some freelance work, which is always good. And we chit-chatted for a couple minutes, shot the breeze, and then he said, "Well, I actually don't have any freelance work for you." And I'm thinking, why did you call me up here? I just drove the traffic. I got up earlier than I wanted to. I didn't say these things, but you're thinking them in your mind. And he said, "No, you don't understand. I want to hire you full time to run the in-house design department, which would consist solely of me." So I, in the space of about 5 minutes, almost quadrupled what I was making.
Wow.
It was my first real design job. Even if it's for a trucking company, 90% of my experience before I opened the studio was in-house design. I was in-house for a bigger company or something like that, but not really at a design agency. So, so I go home that night. I'm on cloud 9. And then that night is the night that we find out that Julie's pregnant with Sean. So that day will kind of live in infamy forever. Now, as with many good things in my life, a lot of times sometimes they're short-lived. 2 years later, I've been laid off from that job. They basically said, we found somebody who could do your job for half your price. And I'm like, well, okay. Time to move on. So I moved on, and once again, back in the same boat. And this was when the real kick in the balls hit. My wife and I come home one night to an eviction notice on our door, the door of the place that we were living in at the time. I couldn't pay the bills, couldn't give rent, we couldn't, just none of that stuff. And sorry. And it just, that was it. And you're sitting there, with your wife, and you're packing up all your stuff to go move back in with my parents. And that's the thing. This was a little over 4 years ago. We're not talking 8-9 years ago. This is recent. And it's like, what do you do? Do you keep going? Do you not keep going? Do you start to wonder, should I have taken that mechanical engineering thing? But in the end, you kind of go on. So from there, I got, during this time, I started the studio temporary, just as a joke, just for fun, and doing my own little thing. And then I got a job, once again, in-house at a financial agency. We moved up here to Ackworth, and then I'd been running the studio as for my freelance bit on the side for a couple of years, always with the intention of going to that full time. But I wasn't ready when I got called in. I got laid off. They laid off, I think, like 40 people from the place we were working at. To the point, like from what I understand, they called in like 15 folks, I think, like into a conference room and like let them all go at once. It was that kind of company, right? With me, it was a one-on-one thing, and it was horrible. Yeah. So I'm walking out the door, and I'm supposed to meet Julie and Sean for lunch that day. So I walk out the door, and I'm carrying all my stuff. So a half hour later, man, we got done, we were crying and just, funny thing. And then finally Julie looked at me and she said, look, if you're going to start it now. She's like, we've got a couple of months to kind of get by. If you're going to start it now. So a half hour after I walk out the door, I start making calls. And within about a half hour, 45 minutes, I had 4 meetings. And they all panned out. And we went through some rough stretches, some really rough stretches. But for the first time, I have not had a slow month since June of 2016. Oh. And the work right now it's just coming in, and I love it. It's awesome and it's crazy. It's stressful from time to time, but look where I was. I can look at this stuff and it's like, oh, this is due in tomorrow. Yeah, I can make that happen. Right. See, what am I going to do? Am I going to go back and live with my parents again? Am I going to, right, go back and work at the Apple Store? No, I'm not going to complain about that type of stuff. I love doing what I do. But I also have that experience from those few years back to say, yeah, I've got it good. It's rough, but I've got it good.
Man, that's epic, man.
Yeah, awesome. And that's the thing, like a lot of people up until last month, only a handful of people even knew that about me. All right, because I don't get me wrong, I love to talk. Everyone who knows me, I love to talk. I love to talk. I love to, I love to make fun of folks and crack jokes and do all this type of stuff, little one-liners and everything. I enjoy that type of stuff. But I consider myself kind of a private person when it comes to that type of stuff. Well, I put a new talk together, and I talked to my wife, and I said, look, I want to tell everything, like everything that we went through. But I need to know that it's okay. With you, right? Yeah. And she said, tell it all. So now if I'm on, on the podcast or I'm up doing my talk, people are going to know where I came from. But the biggest thing that I learned from all that, you hear there's talk about, this person got here because of this, or this person got here because of that. Look, we all went through some stuff, and you can't compare one person to another. Like what I went through might seem like nothing compared to what somebody else went through, but to me, it was huge. Right. So here's my thought on that whole thing. And no matter who you are, what situation you're in, whether that's emotionally, financially, mentally, whatever, no matter where you are in life, you still have to put in the work. Facts. Because you will not get a pass. Oh, you got evicted. Oh, well, then you don't have to learn how to, you don't have to learn how to space type right. We'll give you a pass on that. No, you still have to learn that stuff. You still have to figure that stuff out. Learn how to talk to people. Learn how to, do this type of stuff that you really want to do. No matter what you're going through, you still have to put in the time. So I will help out whoever I can, whether it's, take them out for lunch or something, or I'll, help them out. If they ask me for something, yeah, I'll do anything I can to help. But man, in the end, you got to put in the time.
That's true. That is true, man. I mean, you hit it spot on, man. I mean, you hit it spot on. So, what was the whole idea behind this name, the Studio Temper?
Well, I told you it started out as a joke. So this was 2012. So about 5 years ago. This is when I was still working at the trucking company. This is when things are going good. I got a chance to work on an identity for a restaurant in town, and it was this old school sign shop in town. Now, for anybody who's from a small town, you know that you heading down the road into downtown, into the square, there are all these houses lining the road, and about half of them are businesses, right? So there's this awesome old little house, and this old guy in there, a sign maker, sign painter. He could do all kind of stuff. He'd sculpt and etch and all this kind of stuff. And he was building a sign. Well, this is about 3 minutes walking distance, or so 3-4 minutes walking distance from where I lived at the time. And I'm in there. I'm helping to build the sign. I actually called in sick, quote unquote, to work just so I could build in the sign. Bob, if you're listening to this, I wasn't sick, and that paved the whole way for me doing what I'm doing right now. So thank you for not digging too deep. Yes, I lied. Anyway, so I go in there and I'm helping build the sign. It's got this awesome little back room. It's got this high table and all this amazing, cool old stuff, old junk all over the place. But I loved it. This is the kind of workshop that I think is just awesome. So I asked him a really weird question. I said, what would you say to let me work in here at night when you're not here? I mean, that's literally how I came out. So we got a chance to work on the sign a couple more days, and we got to know each other a little bit. He gave me a key to the shop, to that little back room. He said, here's the fan, here's the heat, here's, Wi-Fi password or whatever. Basically, it's like just leave everything the way it was when you left, turn off all this stuff, lock up, and we're good. Wow. I did that for 1.5 years, and he never charged me a single penny. Basically, when he left every day at 5 o'clock until he got in each morning at 6, the shop was mine.
Was yours. Wow.
So the first night there, I decide, I got to call this place something. So I called, just as a joke, I called it the Studio Temporary. I made business cards and stuff for it too. I mean, it was just, I got to do something. That was like my first project to kind of, christen the studio, as it were. About 6 months later, I heard one of my favorite designers, his name's Alan Fletcher. He was one of the founding partners of Pentagram. Okay. He passed away back in 2008. But I read one of the last interviews he did, and somebody asked him, Mr. Fletcher, what's the most important tool in your studio? And he answered, it's my head. So I'm sitting there thinking this name, and the name that I came up with just kind of popped into my head. So I was like, there's something to that, So I came up with the slogan, if you want to call it, good design wherever I happen to be. And I called it the Studio Temporary, and it just fit. And that's it. That's the story, really. And I've just been doing that, wherever I am, for the last, 4 or 5 years.
That's nice, man. So my question is, what is the secret that you haven't had a slow month since 2016? What's your secret?
No, man. There's a couple of things I always try to do. One, if you follow my Instagram, you know that I'm a pretty avid poster. At least 4 or 5 times a week. I post work. I post work in progress. I post stuff that I'm doing. I post stuff I find. I want to keep people engaged, and that's been a big thing for me. Another thing would be something that my dad told me, and we're back to those dad-isms again, but something my dad always told me. He said, son, it's a lot easier to find work when you have work. So I might be 3 months out or 4 months out or however, 1 month out, but I'm still taking meetings. I'm still talking to folks. I'm still being available, because if you didn't do that, then you get to the end, you send that last invoice off, and it's like, okay, I've got enough money to last me about 2 weeks. I've got to find some work. And when that happens, you go talking to the clients, and for all the bad rap that designers love to give clients,
right,
they're very, very perceptive people, because you go running in there saying, yeah, I'd love to do this work, and we're thinking about it. We're thinking, oh man, I could meet with you guys tomorrow. They can smell
desperation.
They can smell that desperation on you. They can smell it. So, the idea being, look, and that's not who's not to say 3 months out I know what's coming and I'm not desperate, but at the same time, I am saying, look, this is the stuff I'm working on. This is what I have going on at the moment, and so at that point I'm constantly, and it's an old sales thing, but it's called keeping the funnel full.
Right.
All the good jobs will kind of drip down or whatnot, but it's got to have something up here moving around and being filled up and whatnot to keep that thing growing. So constantly be on the lookout. That's the other thing. It's just being available. I never know I never know where my next client's going to come from. It's the truth. But I always know that, whoever I'm talking to, it might turn into something. But I don't go into a conversation thinking, okay, how am I going to get them to hire me to make their logo? I'm not thinking that. But at the same time, I'm always available.
Right.
To give you an example, I did some event graphics for this thing early this year at the Georgia Conservancy. It was this awesome little event, cool graphics. I had a great time. The first person I met there was the commissioner, the Department of City Planning for the city of Atlanta. Okay? Somebody introduced me to him. I'm a graphic designer. Oh, yeah, from the Studio Temporary. I'm sure you've never heard of me, and he hadn't. So he said, oh, well, what do you do? I was like, why are you here? And I pointed to the poster, the big poster that I'd made for this event. And he said, you know what? We need to talk. And I'm like, okay, sure. You have a card, anything like that? So he hands it to me. Commissioner of the Department of City Planning for the city of Atlanta. And they are now my clients. So you never know.
Right.
But it's that availability. It's just not going in there with your memorized 30-second whatever. No, I don't have a pitch. What is my pitch really? If you need design done, you should probably come talk to me. What more do you need? But at the same time, I'm not going in there as this big salesman, because I am not that person. Now I am a salesman because, I sell my work, I sell my company, and so on and so forth. Right. But I'm not going in there with that mentality. I'm going there, I'm going to hang out, I'm going to meet some cool folks. I don't know who I'm going to meet, and I'm fine with that because I really enjoy meeting new people. And, you get to know them.
Right.
And but there's no end goal. That's the thing. I want to stress there's no I want to meet 10 new people and I want to convert 7 of them into clients. That doesn't exist for me. It's just getting to know people, and a lot of times it happens. And a good example, the building that I work out of, the Switchyards Downtown Club, Mike Tavani and Dave Payne started the formulation of this idea back in 2012, 2013. 2015, a buddy of mine who he designs these spaces, and it's incredible, restaurants and all kind of craziness. This guy is amazing. He was working on this particular place. He said, it's called Switchyards. I think you'd like it. You ought to check it out. Okay, fine. So I go on their Instagram, I check it out, I see some stuff, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. And I just commented on Instagram. I was like, man, this is killer. I love it. Mike Tavani, one of the founders, reached out to me over Instagram. I've been following your work for the last couple years, and I'm sitting there thinking,
nice.
Okay. This is October of 2015. I've been out on my own now for about 9 months. Let's see, maybe 7 months. I've been out on my own for about 7 months. And he got in touch with me. He said, come check out the place, see what you think, but I'd love to talk to you. Okay, fine. So I go out there, take the tour. And it's still full construction, man. We're wearing vests and hard hats, and one guy fainted during the tour and hit his head, and it was really funny. So the guy was just going on about, why do I have to wear a hard hat and why do I have to do this? And I'm like, that's why. Anyway, he was fine. So Anyway, I think the dent is still in the sheetrock. Anyway, so so he and I start talking. We talked for like 45 minutes after the tour. He asked me to come and design the sign and the identity for the Switchyards Downtown Club. It opened December of 2015. Like, we had our first big meeting. They get their CO on January 4th, I think, of 2016. I moved in on the 5th, and I've been there for almost 2 years. How? A buddy of mine was working on something. I commented and said, "This is killer. I'd love to know more about this." And now I've been there, and I've had a hand in a ton of stuff through there. I've done shirts for them. I just finished a mural at the club. At Switchyards. I just finished a mural. They now have their own typeface. Switchyards Gothic. You know, they now have that. I've designed pennants and, all kind of crazy stuff for these guys. And where did it all start? Just from, I had a conversation with him. Not about working for him, just, I think this is cool. And you never know where that stuff will lead.
Right.
So just being available has been probably the biggest advantage for me for this last year and a half or so.
So hold up, you work at Switchyard?
I do. Really? I do. My studio and everything is at Switchyard. So I've got a space there. That's where I work out of. I go in 4 days out of the week. We're always work from home on Wednesdays. And I got a space. I got a key to my office and whatnot, and it's great. I've got posters and all kind of junk and craziness and everything, and books.
I didn't even know that. I know of Switchyard. I've never been there, but I know of it.
You gotta come by. Dude, you gotta come by.
I'm definitely going to come by now.
Do you like sandwiches? do you like sandwiches?
That's bad.
Broad Street in Atlanta has some of the best restaurants, especially for just quick lunch food, that I've ever seen. Reuben's Sandwich Shop. Best sandwich I've ever had in my life. Unbelievable. I eat there a couple times a week. I walk in, I say hi, and then I walk up to the register because they already know what I'm going to order. I don't even have to tell them what I want. I just walk in, let them know I'm there, and they just start making my stuff. They're great folks, nice folks, lovely, lovely folks. I enjoy that type of stuff. But you come up to Switchyards, we'll figure out a time. Come up around lunchtime. I'll take you over to Reuben's. Josh and those guys will get you all set up, and we'll chit chat and go over some stuff. Talk about the smashing success of this particular episode, and hopefully, but we'll figure something out.
Oh, that's cool, man. I mean, that's just I didn't even know that. I know of Switchyards, but I didn't even know that. That's where you're based out of.
Open door, man.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So, the big question, what's next? What's next with Scott?
Ooh. I don't know, man. Got to get my oil changed this week. I don't know. I mean, people ask me this question. Like, I don't know. I don't know, and I kind of like it. I know that I've got a lot of work to do tonight. I'll be up doing a bunch of stuff. I know that I have to. I've got to run out and get something for my kid for superhero day at school tomorrow. I got to run out to as soon as we get done here. I got to run out to the store real quick and get that, and I'm happy to. I've got. I've signed some new clients, and I think it's really cool. Coca-Cola now being one of them as of today.
Epic.
Which is nuts. I designed a poster for Type Hike, and I found out a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I've seen that post.
Yeah, it's now one of my posters as part of this series. One of my posters is now in the permanent collection at the Library of Congress. How's that for crazy, right? And then I just got a bunch of other client stuff I'm working on. I'm going to be in my first store. I'm talking with some folks in my hometown of Noonan. They have this awesome little store, and they want me to come in there. They want me to sell products and stuff in there, a wholesale bit or something. So I'm talking to them next week, and I'm already working up some stuff. So I'm pretty excited about that. Don't know when that's going to actually launch. Maybe towards next month or something. We'll see. and then, I've got TopCon, my little conference that I go to I think we talked about this.
Yeah, we did.
We talked about this at Canyons. That's coming up November 17th and 18th. I've already got my room booked at the Crash Pad. I cannot wait. It's going to be fantastic. Great food, great people, fire pit, s'mores, hot chocolate over at the chocolatier, Champy's fried chicken. We found it's going to be epic. Get some bluegrass grill for breakfast, or we'll just make it there at the hostel because we're cool like that.
Sounds
there's
good,
a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff coming up.
Yeah, I could see.
But it can all change. It could all change at a moment's notice, and I think that's kind of cool. So we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see what happens.
Sounds good, man. Sounds good. So, advice for creatives. I mean, you've given a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience, and just a lot of great stories.
Making me sound older than my 32 here. It's like, yes, sir. Please. What more wisdom have you to bestow upon us from your many years in graphic design? Well, Sonny, I don't know, man. Just put in the work. You're going to have to put in the work. There's no way around it. Be nice to folks, please. Good night. Just be nice to people. And I know we all have bad days. I have bad days too. But be nice to folks. You never know what'll happen. You never going to know who's watching.
Right.
But even more than if nobody was watching, just treat people right. And pay attention to the important things in life. Your family, your friends, whatever that is for you. Make sure you pay attention to that, and just realize that what we get to do is amazing, and it's cool and it's fun, and we get to make a living doing it, and I think that's awesome. And just be thankful. Be thankful of what you get to do, and enjoy it. Please enjoy it. Really, that's it, man. And just be available. Be open, be yourself. Be nice to folks. Have a good be able to hold a conversation and look somebody in the eye. It's amazing how many people can't do that anymore.
Yeah, so true.
Just in the end, be yourself. Enjoy what you get to do, and love it.
I love it, man. I really appreciate you coming on, dude.
Yeah,
this has been awesome. This has been awesome, man.
Anytime, and like I said, we'll get you out to Switchyards here soon, and we'll make that thing happen.
Yeah, definitely. I know that this is just the beginning for us, and I'm looking forward to many more conversations off here and just getting to know you better. But for now, just thank you for coming on the podcast. Thank you for being so open to just coming on and not even blinking about it.
Nah, man. This is cool. 7,000 people. I don't care how many folks are listening. Just the fact that somebody, and that's the thing. Somebody asked me to come on. Somebody asked me to tell my story. What am I going to say? I won't do it for less than knowing that I'm going to get 1,000 subscribers. What am I going to? Who does that, right? I just enjoy. And anybody who knows me know how much I enjoy talking. So this is just fun for me. Now, if you want to follow along, if this wasn't enough for you, and I haven't turned you off for life, go to thestudiotemporary.com. I've got a brand new website coming soon. You're going to love it. I have a meeting with the folks designing it on Thursday. It's going to be great. I hope it is. And then, so thestudiotemporary.com. Also, check me especially on Instagram. I'm very active on there. Instagram and Twitter @StudioTemporary. And if that wasn't enough, I have a little online store that has some cool things. That's the Studio Temporary, thestudiotemporary.bigcartel.com. Cool. And if you are in the Atlanta area, around downtown, man, shoot me a direct message on Instagram. Come up, say hey, shoot the breeze. We'll go to Ruben's, get a sandwich, or maybe Rosa's. There's pizza and stuff there, which is great. So I don't know. I'm always open to this type of stuff. So if you're in the area, stop by. I'd love to say hey.
Awesome, man. I'm going to let you go. Enjoy the rest of your night and do what you got to do. But, man, thanks again for coming on. It was a pleasure meeting you at the small town meeting the other day. And it was a pleasure having you on the podcast.
Anytime, man. Thanks, Daryl. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Enjoy your night.
You can always connect with me at DPCREATES on Instagram or Twitter. If you ever want to have a conversation, ask a question, that's DPCREATES at Instagram or Twitter. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I would love to get your feedback, so please leave a review on iTunes and keep sharing the podcast on social media. Be blessed.